Hello, designers. I wanted to just jump on quickly. And I titled this, Stuck in Corporate, right? Where, yeah, just talking about being in corporate. And I mean, this is something that I made the transition 2 times actually. The first time was when I opened up my wellness center. And that time was when, I had no kids and I wrote a business plan. My sister and I had a business plan and we opened up a wellness center and we jumped, right? And so there were so many different lessons from that. And, ended up having to go back to a corporate job again. And the second time I was more strategic in doing it. And of course I was more strategic because at that time it wasn't just about me. I had met my, boyfriend at the time, and then we were pregnant with my son. The time I left the second time was when, I had kids, right? And I had my husband, and he also was more risk averse than me. And because I'll jump in and do certain things. And so I had to be more strategic. I had to think, made more thoughts and had a plan. And so I just wanted to share that for yourself and even just for anybody that may be watching that you're not in your job, you're not in your business full time and you have to bridge. First of all, bridging is important. Sometimes, we have to pay the bill, so we got to do corporate things to allow us to be able to not be in that feast and famine and have that energy to be able to focus on our business and not be about, okay, I need to make the money, right away. So you have something that's paying your bills, that's giving you consistency so that way you can build your business. And that's what I did, right? When I went back to corporate, it was like, okay, I can exhale and then I can leverage the money and even the money because I had in a role where it more than covered my pay, and then I can able to use it to invest in my business as well. And so one of the things I wanted to share that really worked for me and has helped some clients that I've had who were in that bridge to be able to transition. And so obviously this is, I'm always big about planning, even more so when you also want to leave something, right? My second time when I said I was more strategic, I had a plan. I said to myself, okay, I gave myself an end date, right? So this is something that's important. If you're in corporate and you're like, oh, I want to leave one day, you have to give yourself an end date, because if not, you don't have something tangible to working towards. And there's not that fire, because something about deadlines, right? It gives you that thing where, okay, this is something I need to meet. Then, okay, how can I meet it? And then it gives you that fire. So give yourself that deadline, right? And it doesn't matter what that time is. It might be 2 years, it might be a year, it might be 6 months, it might be 3 months. Doesn't matter. Just give yourself that time to say, so there's a client that I did this for, right? Where I forgot when we started, but it was like June of the following year. So we had like a good 8 months for her to really build and have a plan in place to say, okay, that's her exit time, and this is what needs to happen to get there. So give yourself an exit date of where, by August 2022, I'm done with full time. I am done with corporate. This is what I'm going to exit out. So that way, again, that deadline will fuel your fire to be able to do the work. And so what I also did was, especially the second time, because I had kids, because I had my mortgage and all this other, I had my mortgage the first time too, but it was more responsibilities that I had to think through. So I said to myself, okay, what was the bare minimum that I needed to bring in to leave, right? So based on my contribution to the household, the kids' activities, everything else. And then I also had to cut back my expenses, because the one time when I left, I was spending like I was getting a consistent income. And that was like, afterwards it was like, oh my God, okay, I got to really slow it down. So I had to look at, okay, where can I cut? And then of course, right away, from my example was where I was commuting a lot. Like my transportation cost was like $1,000 every single month. $1,000 a month just on because I had to fill up 2.5 times for gas because of my commute, the 407 bill, as well as oil, because I think I was every 2 months or something, I had to change my oil because of the commuting. So that in itself, I was like, woo, I saved myself $1,000 a month. But where else can I cut back that I was doing that can help me? And then I looked at, okay, so based on this, this is how much I needed to bring in. Then I started to look at some of my offerings that I was doing. How much do I need to bring in? Yes, when I left corporate the second time full-time, I clearly it did not replace my full-time income. It didn't. It was not to the income. But I had some momentum. I had money coming in. I had some things in the pipeline and some things coming in. So that gave me the comfort to say, okay, I can leave at this time because yes, I at least consistently, I have this amount coming in and I can cut back on some of these expenses. So that way I'm not too stressed out. And then I can put back those expenses as more money came in. So I really had to look at that amount that came in allowed me to leave. Then I had to do the plan. Before I left, it was like, okay, now what do I need to launch? I remember there's a couple of programs that I launched in between that time to have money coming in. And what I did with that money was where all these over and above things that I did, I didn't touch that money because my full-time job was covering my expenses and then some. I left it. So any of those money that came in during the time I was still working full time and was money coming in, I was banking that money. That money was being banked for when I'm done, right? So that way, and I think it was probably like 2 or 3 months expenses that I had. But I mean, if you can do 6 months or more, fantastic. But if not, really up to you. And again, it's personal. It's what makes sense for you, for your family, what feels right. But I started because my full time was covering everything and so forth. I started with money that I was making from the activities here and there that I was building clients. I just banked that for savings for when I left full time. So that really helped a lot because then there was some money in the bank. It wasn't like when I was done and there was nothing coming in and there was nothing saved. I had some things saved. The other thing I did was also more from a mindset piece because, what tends to happen is we go into this, like we have to go to corporate and you're like, oh my God, this soul-sucking job. Because that was for me, like the commute and everything else. The job itself, I mean, there's parts of it that I actually loved, right? I mean, I loved managing. I think my categories was probably like over $200 million, and I get to like manage that money, grow those sales, and all the different aspects of growing that thing came through myself and my team. So that was fun, but there was the commute and then there was all these other politics that I hated, right? And so coming in, I'm like, oh my God, it's taking me from something that I truly want to do, my freedom, something that I love. So I had to switch it. I saw my corporate job as a silent investor into my business. A silent investor where it was giving me money, and it's not going to take any part of my business share. I get the money. Hey, for me, that corporate job was investing into my business, right? Investing into me. So it's going to help me to be able to cover my expenses so that way, and it's investing into me, right? And so when I saw that, it gave me more, it helped me feel a sense of gratitude to my corporate job. So it wasn't like this soul sucking place that I need to go to that's taking me away from my dreams. It was no longer that. It was just a really great shift. I'm like, in exchange, all I had to do was show up, was to go there for a few hours, show up and do the thing. So with that mindset shift, I'm like, oh my God, it's a silent investor, an investor that will never ask for any share of my business, has no say in how I do my business, but it's giving me money. And all I had to do was exchange a certain amount of hours in my day for it. It really helped me shift from a place of, oh my God, I hate you, this is soul sucking, to a sense of gratitude for it. It is doable. You can have your business be full time and do certain things, but there is a plan. And again, the first time I did it was like, oh, I wasn't as strategic as the second time, and even with the second time, even being strategic, there was still some struggles and still some issues that I had, and you just roll with it. But at least it's important to set yourself up for success, and having a plan before you leave will help you get there. So, all right, let's see you guys soon. Bye.